Mike did,
Maybe.
right? You did it last week? So I'll start over here. Bob, you can do the pledge, all right? Just a moment of silence for our the troops fighting for. Okay, everybody green? Everybody's green. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here for this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Before we get started, as always, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So would everybody please rise? And Councilman Shannell, would you please lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a moment of silence for our military that are out defending our freedom. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and those at home that are watching this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Today's date is Wednesday, March 11th, 2020, and tonight we have two public hearings. The first public hearing is upon a certain map plan and report, including an estimated cost in relation to the proposed increase in improvement of the facilities of the Lake Cassidy Park District. And the second public hearing is upon a map plan and report, including an estimated cost in relation to the proposed increase in improvement of the facilities of the Lake Tea Kettle Park District. At 6:15 this evening, prior to coming out to our public portion of the meeting, we met in executive session with Glenn Drosy, the town assessor, to discuss a certiorari litigation. And the second part of executive session was with Police Chief Michael Kazari to discuss a personnel matter. So once again, thank you all for being here tonight. It's good to see a lot of people turning out for our meetings. We usually don't get this amount of folks. We usually get a handful. So it's good that you're all here tonight to hear about your local government, what goes on in municipal business, and what may affect you or may not affect you. But it's important to know what your local government is doing for you as the taxpayers. So it's important to know where your tax-paying dollars are being spent as well. Before we get started, I do want to talk about, I joked a little bit about it when I came out here before, but some of you may or may not know that I had a health emergency on January 2nd of this year. As soon as the new year started, we were concluding a town board organizational meeting. And at the end of the meeting, really close to the close of the meeting, I started feeling some pain in my chest area, up here in my chest, but it radiated across my whole chest. I really didn't do too much about it. I didn't think too much about it. I actually thought it had something to do with reflux, GERD, indigestion, heartburn, or something like that. And being a guy, you know, sometimes we ignore those signs and we don't do anything about it, thinking it's nothing. I actually went home and took some Tums. I took a Prilosec, and I went to bed. The pain at that point had subsided, so that's why I thought it still could have been that, GERD. But at 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with this horrible pain again across my chest. So something was clearly wrong. I didn't know what it was, and I still didn't do anything about it at that point. You know, I let it go. I went back to bed and didn't think anything of it. The next day, I had the same pains. So my daughter-in-law, who's a cardiac care nurse, she's an RN, and I spoke to her about it, and she said, "Dad, I think it's more than what you think it is, and you should probably get it checked out." And it turns out that she was right, and other folks were right. Bob Shannell and I had breakfast Sunday morning, and I told him what was going on, and he said, get your butt to the ER, all right?
Bleep.
So I went over to Putnam Hospital, and as soon as I told the girl at the desk what was going on, they brought me into the ER right away, and I still thought it wasn't heart-related. So they hooked me up to the EKG, and the doctor came in to read the results, and he said, "Mr. Schmidt, you're having a heart attack right now. They called it a STEMI. I think STEMI is a medical term for a heart attack." And they said, the good thing is we're going to get you help, but we can't do anything for you here. you have to go to Danbury Hospital, because Danbury Hospital has a cardiac cath lab, Putnam doesn't. So they called an ambulance and they transported me there by ambulance. And they met me as soon as the ambulance pulled into the hospital. There was a team waiting to bring me into the cardiac cath lab. They went in through my wrist here with the catheter, with the camera, up through my arm, across my chest, into my heart. And the doctor who was examining me, he said, well, you're not a candidate for stents. You do have an issue, but I can't I can't do stents with you. You have multiple blockages in your arteries. You need open heart surgery. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm 62, all right? And I haven't had any health issues. There's really no heart issues in my family history. I don't smoke. I'm not a diabetic. I don't drink excessively. I'm not overweight. So things that, I just didn't think anything was wrong, or I didn't think there was an issue with carotid arteries. My cholesterol was a little high, but it wasn't crazy high. So anyway, so he called the cardiac thoracic surgeon, and I met with the surgeon, and he said, we have to wait 3 days before I can do the surgery because we gave you blood thinners, and we have to wait until your blood platelets are such that you can, that we can do the surgery on you. So they admitted me to the ICU unit, cardiac ICU unit, and 3 days later, I had open heart surgery. So after 6.5 hours of being in surgery, I had a quadruple bypass. Times two.
Yeah.
Quadruple bypass times two, so it was really an 8-way. They took an artery out of here, out of my arm, out of my chest, and out of my legs, and it was successful, thank God, and if it wasn't, I'm not gonna
Think
get
about
emotional.
that, yeah, don't.
If I didn't get there when I did, it could have been really bad, all right? I could have had a massive heart attack, and they wouldn't have gotten help to me, all right? So my point by telling everybody this is, if your body's telling you something, listen to it, all right? If something's not right, don't ignore it. Don't be stubborn like I did for 2 days, all right? Get to the hospital, get to your doctor, and have an EKG done. Have the test done. And what I would recommend is that when you hit a certain age, or if you have a family history, get the nuclear stress test done, or an echocardiogram, all right? See your cardiologist. Tell your cardiologist that, you'd like him to write a script, because I think you need a script for that. And they will, especially if there is a history. But get tested, all right? I didn't get tested. All right? I was fortunate because I had the early warning signs. Some people don't have, an early warning sign where they can get to the hospital. So please, if I could, the message I'm trying to get across is, all right, get yourself tested. You're probably, most likely you're going to be fine. But if you do have issues, if you have an artery issue, or if you have a valve issue, or something else is going on with your heart, they'll be able to determine that at the testing time, and then you can get help and get it taken care of, right? So it doesn't get to the point where I was at, all right? So it turned out really well. It's 9 weeks today that I had the surgery. I'm walking 3 miles a day. I'm doing really well. So my diet, I had to change my diet, so I'm eating heart-healthy food now. I'm trying to eat heart-healthy food. I do slip once in a while. I do like to, eat other types of food, but I'm eating heart-healthy now. I lost weight. I lost 10 pounds since the surgery, so, I feel pretty good. But you have to take care of yourself, all right, and listen to your body. If it's telling you something, don't ignore it, all right? I thought it was reflux or GERD. It wasn't. It was a heart issue. Thank God for my children, my 3 sons, my daughter-in-laws, constantly by my side at the hospital. My family, Susie, extremely supportive. Everybody was. I can't tell you how many people reached out to me and sent me well wishes. A food train, a meal train was started, and I had about 50 heart-healthy meals that were sent to my house. So every night I had somebody signed up, and they prepared a meal for me that was heart-healthy, and it was sent to my house. I don't want to mention any names. I'd love to, but I don't want to leave anybody out. So I'm not going to mention any names. But I want to thank everybody for everything that they did for me, whatever you did, whether you called me, texted me, sent meals to my house, sent flowers to the house, sent me a card, checked in on me. It really meant a lot to me. You know, my recovery and, you know, just resting and getting healthy. So I'm back after 9 weeks. I feel great, and I'm going to continue doing what I have to do, exercise and eating healthy, and it's important that we do that. So thank you all for everything that you've done for me, and you know, I'm really happy to be back, doing something that I really enjoyed doing for the past 13 years. I want to continue to do that, and I want to thank Susie, my deputy supervisor. She stepped in while I was out for 8 weeks, and Susie did a great job. She actually took a leave of absence from work to be here all day. So, thank you,
It's my
Susie.
pleasure,
And the
Kenny.
rest of the board, too. Frank was here a lot, Bob came in a lot, Mike's here all the time anyway. So Mike was here, and they really covered for me while I was out, and I don't think we skipped a beat. I think things got done, and things ran well. Ann, where's Ann? Yeah.
Yep.
I want to thank my administrative assistant, Ann, too. She did a lot of work covering the office while I was out as well, and so everybody really stepped up, so. thank
Glad
you
you're back,
all.
Ken.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, God.
No stress.
And no stress. That's,
The new motto,
Slow
no
and easy.
stress.
my doctor said, my cardiologist said, less stress.
Oh, so
Simone's
there,
leaving.
Mike just left.
Yeah, less stress, Mike. So, okay, so we're gonna get started now. Thank you, everyone, once again. All right, so, public hearing number 1, as I said, it's regards to an estimate of cost in relation to the proposed increase and improvement of the facilities of the Lake Cassidy Park District. And at this time, I'm gonna ask our town clerk, Ann Spofford, to read the notice of public hearing, for public hearing 1.
Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, Putnam County, New York, will meet at the Town Hall, 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, on March 11th, 2020, at 7:00 p.m. prevailing time for the purpose of conducting a public hearing upon a certain map plan and report, including an estimate of cost in relation to the proposed increase and improvement of the facilities of Lake Cassidy Park District in said town, consisting of the reconstruction of dam and appurtenances and incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith, at a maximum estimated cost of $228,206. Said capital project has been determined to be a Type 2 action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation promulgated pursuant to the State Quality Review Act, SECRA, the implementation of which, as proposed, said regulations provide will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. At said public hearing, said town board will hear all persons interested in the subject thereof. The town board will make every effort to assure that the public hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, Putnam County, New York, Ann Spofford, Town Clerk.
Okay, thanks, Ann. Appreciate that. Okay, I need a motion to open public
So
hearing
moved.
number 1.
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Councilwoman McDonough, seconded by Councilman Lombardi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, did anybody sign up to speak? Did we have a sign up? No. No? Okay. All right, is there anyone here that would like to speak on public hearing number 1 that the town clerk just read the notice of? If so, come on up at this time.
There's a gentleman here.
Yeah, Rich,
Rich and Mary Ann,
yeah,
you
Rich
should come up
and
there.
Mary Ann, if you could, Rich Franzetti is the town engineer, and Mary Ann Maxwell is the town controller.
Oh, he doesn't have to sign.
We just need his name.
He's sign it.
Good evening, sir. I just need your name.
Dan Chinovsky, resident of Lake Cassie, 27 Russ Road, here in Mahopac.
Thanks for being here.
pursuant to the cost that this is supposed to entail, I'd like to know more specifics about the necessity of it as to the use of whatever improvement it is and how it will improve. First, the property values, is that an impact? Is it for the health of the residents or use of the Lake Cassee area? Or is it something because of potential flooding downstream? In lieu of the fact that for the last 2 years, we've been unable to use the lake, is this being done so that we can use the lake? I mean, why is this being done? Why the cost? How will it impact?
Okay, very good questions, and I'm going to defer to a town engineer. Rich
Should I sit
Franzetti.
down?
You can sit. Yeah.
First, why don't we tell them why we have to do this?
Well,
Rich is gonna-
yeah. Rich, the why? We're doing it.
So why, and this is for both the public hearings, so for the folks who are here for Tea Kettle and for the folks in Lake Cassee. There are 3 dams associated with it. Tea Kettle has 2 dams, Cassee has 1 dam. The town, per New York State DEC dam safety regulations, was required to perform an engineering assessment. After the engineering assessment, it was determined, and through correspondence with the New York State DEC dam safety folks, that the trees and shrubbery and brush and vegetation needed to be removed from the dams, and then future work will need to be put into the dams themselves to make sure that they meet state code and criteria. So that is the why. It's driven by state regulations and by the dam safety group.
And then I think, Dan, where'd he go? Oh, here you are, I'm sorry. He also wanted to know, he brought up about like the property values and if it's gonna help the
How does it impact?
the
I mean, I understand
lake.
the work has to be done, but for instance, if I went to my
I
mechanic,
didn't even hear it.
Yeah, you have to go back up, sir. Thanks.
if I were to go to a car mechanic, the guy says, well, gee, you need a new engine, it's one thing. If he says, it'd be nice to have your brakes done, I could wait 6 months, I may be getting a new car. Is it a necessity that it be done, or just that it's a good recommendation? It'd be nice to have it done. Will the dam fail? Does it have to be done immediately? And how does it impact the residents? Was it 200 or so families that live in the Lake Cassee Improvement District? If it weren't to be done, what happens?
So it needs to be done. Of course, again, the state is requiring that it gets done. The dam is not in imminent way of failing right now, but long-term, if you leave the trees and don't take care of it and maintain it the way it's supposed to be maintained, there could be failure to the dams. It is not in any way, shape, or form in any immediate way of failing right now. But it does need to get done to be proactive versus waiting for the dam to fail and trying to fix it after the fact, right? So it does need to be done, and needs to be done now.
Yeah. If I may, Rich, New York State has a dam safety inspection program. They have a group that, with the DEC, that inspects all
All the dams,
dams. And they inspected your dam, the Lake Cassee Dam, and identified it as, potentially having an issue down the road. As Rich said, not imminent, but future. What was it rated at? Which class, Rich?
So all 3 dams, when we first did the engineering assessment, were rated Class B dams. So there's Class C, Lake Mahopac Dam is a Class C, high hazard. Then there's an intermediate, which is B, and then there is a low hazard, which is an A. The lower Tea Kettle Lake, or the Tea Kettle Lake, has been reclassified as an A dam, but the other 2 dams are classified, Cassee and Upper Tea Kettle, as Class B intermediate hazard dams.
So
And
as I
that's why
understand,
the EA has to get done. I apologize for cutting you off. So an engineering assessment needs to be performed per state regulations. It's a regulation, and they have to be done for this.
Town council
there-
just wants to add
just
something to that.
To clarify, and the EA, the interval of the EA is based upon the classification of the dam, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what happens if it's not done in accordance with the DEC's regulatory mandate? The repairs, the DEC can then serve the town with a notice of violation, and they'd be subject to imposition of fines if they weren't to comply with the mandate to do the upgrades.
no, as first presented, it sounded like this was a recommendation. It's like, your brakes, your tires are wearing a little thin. It'd be nice within the next 6 months if you got it, because come wintertime, the treads are not going to be good. Versus, tomorrow, if you don't have new tires on your car, you're not driving on the road.
Yeah.
state-
And we're
I just want to know,
fine you. Yeah.
which it was.
Unfortunately, it's a state
A state.
Mandate
a
right now
state
at this point in time that it be
requirement
replaced.
That
Yes.
we don't
No,
really
it's
have
not
much of
danger of
that we don't have much of a say in.
It's-
Right.
If we don't do it, if they don't do it, if we fail to take action on it, they can assess fines every day that you're out
Yeah.
of compliance, and we don't want that to happen.
And I just understood that,
Yeah.
but then the question is, if the dam were to fail, hypothetically, obviously, the lake would drain somehow, or would overflow onto the road. Is this therefore just a Lake Cassie problem, or were the lake to somehow overflow, it then becomes town road? And spillage, which then goes to a creek, which follows Sheer Hill around, would it then impact other residents beyond Lake Cassie? So does fixing this dam impact more than just the Lake Cassie Park District? As to sharing the cost.
The hazard classification is based upon the danger to the downstream properties in the immediate
Yeah.
vicinity in the event of a breach. That's how the classification is reached by DEC.
I wasn't questioning the
All right, so
classification.
In that model, the dam is only, the lake is only used by the district residents.
Only.
The assessment
Okay.
for the cost is assessed to the district residents, even though there may be some downstream benefit to other property owners in the event, assuming the dam stays intact.
Okay.
If the dam fails, there would be downstream issues wherever the water flows to, if you were to lose it from that lake. The bigger impact would be that you lose your lake. You know, if the dam fails, and then you would need emergency repairs immediately to try to, you know,
If you wanted to save the lake.
it would be years before you could save the lake,
Okay.
if that were to happen. So this is preventative maintenance, so that doesn't happen. It's unfortunate, but
Mandated.
it's mandated.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Now,
Thanks, Dan.
Mary Ann could talk a little bit about the cost. Mary Ann, do you have anything prepared for?
I do, yes.
All right,
Yes.
Mary Ann's the town controller. She's here to explain, you know, how the cost is appropriated in a portion. It's all the residents, it would be the residents that reside in the Lake Cassie Park District that would be paying for the cost of this. And Mary Ann could break out the cost and how that would impact you. Thanks, Mary Ann.
Sure. Well, the overall cost is estimated at $228,206, which was said before. If we were to bond that $228 out for 15 years, at a house assessed at $355,154, the cost would be $39, $40 a year for that 15-year period. Okay, so, you know, again, that's a house assessed at $355. If your house is assessed more, the cost would be more, less would, you know, the cost would be less, so.
Okay.
So that would be
Mary Ann,
the
do
cost.
you have the number of parcels that are in the Lake Cassie Park District?
459.
There's 459 homes in the Lake Cassie Park District that would be sharing for the cost.
That
of it.
cost, right.
Sounds good.
And again, this is based on the interest rate today. You know, if we weren't to bond, we probably wouldn't bond this out till it's complete. So, you know, interest rates go up, the cost would go up, you know, a little bit as well.
Sounds okay.
And if interest rates go down over the course of the bond, we could refinance it, and then that perhaps could lower everybody's cost a little bit. So we're constantly, you know, looking at interest rates and what our bonding amounts are.
And Mary Ann, you would recommend the 15-year bond, correct?
For this cost, yes.
this
I mean,
cost.
I mean, we could look at a 10-year bond, you know, but I think a 15-year bond would probably be the best. I wouldn't go longer, I wouldn't go more than 15,
Right,
because then you're going to end up paying more interest on it.
correct.
So,
Yep,
yes.
good. I would go.
You finished, sir?
I'm done.
All right, thank you. I don't want to rush you.
Thanks,
but,
Dan.
Did you want to come up, sir? Yes. Okay. Just for the record, I think I
Peter
know who
Mess-
you are, but
Peter Mastrobuono, Lake Cassie, Mayapack. On how are these costs being distributed? This money to cut a few trees? That's that's what they said, that,
it's more than just cutting a few trees.
What
It's-
else?
It's an earthen dam.
I understand it's an
And-
earthen dam.
So that the earthen dam, the spillway, the trees, and whatever else they're gonna do to improve the dam to lower the classification.
How's that money broke
incorrect.
down?
It is?
So-
Okay, all right, so,
So I hate Supervisor, I mean to just correct you. In this particular case, it is the clearing of the trees and brush, and in Lake Cassie's case, it's the adding of rock wall and, not rocks, but rocks at the front end of the dam on the upstream embankment. And the reason for that is this is, and for both Tea Kettle and for Cassie, this is really a phase one. Clear out the trees, get rid of the brush, meet the state criteria for that. Then we go back in, we're gonna look at the dam, assess it. The next phase is to remove the tree stumps. We're not removing the stumps off the dam right now, because that would be too dangerous. So we wanna make sure that what we're doing is looking at to see if there's any kind of leaching out of the dams themselves, any other improvements. That'll be in the next phase to make them and have that happen. So it's a two-pronged
Yeah,
approach here.
because there's very few trees on the dam.
They're-
There's some brush, but not trees.
Right, but it's also, I don't know the full length, but it's a fairly long, it's the longer of the three dams. Tea Kettle and Upper Tea Kettle are smaller dams, so less in length on dam-wise, so.
Rich, you made a comment of next phase. I think they'd want to know, is this number covering the next phase?
This number is not covering the next phase, this is for this only.
So you're telling us that this phase, you're gonna put rocks in front of the dam,
Right,
remove the brush,
correct. And remove the trees and have it ready so we can do another inspection, figure out if there are any additional improvements that need to be made on the dams to make them meet state code and criteria. That is the way the state wanted this to be laid out.
okay?
So-
That sounds like a lot of money to remove some trees and brush.
Yeah. Rich, they're putting rocks in
Thank-
this one as well, Lake Cassie and Tea Kettle?
No, just Lake Cassie.
Just Lake Cassie.
Part of the state's
Okay.
requirements is that the wave action on Lake Cassie on the upstream embankment is causing the upstream embankment to erode in certain areas. If people walk there, you'll see little divots going in and out, so they wanted
That's
additional
the
rock to be
run,
put in.
that's the runoff from the road. That divot you see in the thing, it's the runoff from the road, and when the town takes its fire trucks to pump their pumps, the excess water is washing the dam. Not, the dam is not being washed from the lake, it's being washed from the road and from the fire trucks.
Has
Thanks.
this been bid yet?
Yes.
Hey, Rich?
So to answer
ahead.
Councilman Baril's question, yes, this has been bid. The reason why we're here doing the bonding is because we thought initially we'd be able to cover the cost with the existing
The
operating
operating
budgets. And then
What were the range of bids?
I don't remember, I'm trying to pull that up for you right now.
Sorry.
You good? Okay.
Joe Zacon, 106 Overlook Drive, Lake Cassie. So to understand this correctly, we're paying $230,000 to cut down trees and brush and add rocks, but then we're going to pay for it over the next 15 years. But every 10 years, the work has to be performed.
Not every no, so that's incorrect. You're correct on the first half, but the second half, every 10 years, an engineering assessment needs to be performed. But so once this work is completed and we bring that and the dam is brought up to where it's supposed to be code-wise, the engineering assessment should be really nothing, not nothing, but it's gonna cost us to do an engineering assessment. But we'll bring it up to code and you don't have to do any more improvements after that.
Do we know how many acres of land has to be cleared?
Both the upstream and downstream embankments. I don't know what the acreage is off the top of my head.
I only asked, I cleared 1.5 acres for 10 grand. I just think it's a lot of money to spend $230,000 and then get reassessed after the dam gets reassessed. So we're gonna pay for it for 15 years and then get hit with another bill when they say, oh, well, we've got a leak over here or a potential problem over there, and have to redo something else to add on top of the bond. Shouldn't we kind of try to gather all the information at once, come up with one number?
So the state dictated how we were gonna do this in the grand scheme of things, which was remove the brush, come back, look at it, make sure you do all the assessment, and then go back and do the next phases that were part of the EA but need to maybe be expanded upon.
To understand correctly where the dam is, it's the strip of road that goes over Lake Drive. or
It is Lake Drive, the dam is Lake Drive.
And it's the brush down to the bike path.
all the way through to the bike path, where it goes straight down. So that's partly what makes it hard to work on, is because of the steep embankments, the downstream embankments.
Crazy question, why can't our highway department do it? We have a tree crew.
We put it out to bid, it's bigger than that, but we never even asked Highway to do it. But Highway would have to charge Cassie anyhow.
How many bids came back?
6.
What was the range?
183 to 485, but the three lowest, it went 183, 189, 166, 237. And then 349, 485. And that was for Cassie. Tea Kettle has different numbers.
And we don't know what the length of, so in the scope of the, work.
If you want to come up to my office, we can go now, I can go up and get the plans. We have a whole full set of plans. You know, there's erosion sediment control that needs to be there, there's permitting that needs to be there, there's a whole bunch of the pieces of the puzzle. It's not just going in and cutting trees, even though it sounds that way.
That's what I'm asking,
All right.
okay.
I wish it were that easy. If it were that easy, if we can get Highway to cut trees tomorrow, that would be great, right? But now we have to go into permitting now because we're delayed. We're not gonna be able to cut the trees before March 31st, so we have to worry about the northern long-eared bat and making sure, we meet the criteria that the state is dictating on the tree cutting for that. So there's more than just you have to put access, you have to put erosion sediment control, you have to make sure you're removing the brush, how it's getting taken care of. I can bring the drawings down if you want me to, town board. I can go up and get them and put them out, or,
Do we have any idea what the potential next phase is gonna cost us as the taxpayers?
No, we do not at this time.
Thank you.
Which of these, are these the drawings?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, come on up, Chris. How are you, Chris? Good, thanks.
Chris Parada, 3 Seward Road, Lake Cassie. How long is this project taking, once it starts?
I'd have to double check the bid specs on that, but it's supposed to be done within 4 months, once we start it up, so it'll be pretty quick. That's the 3 projects together. So whatever team is coming in here, they're doing Cassie, and then they're doing Tea Kettle, and then Upper Tea Kettle, or whatever
So
way
it's
they
4
wanna
months
do it.
for all 3
I
projects?
think that's what it said in the bid specs. I'd have to double check. I think it was 120 days to complete.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
And Rich, that was just, again, for just phase one, the 4
Yes.
months for phase one, okay.
Jody, do you want to see this?
Where's Joe? Joey, the clerk just needs it back. She just,
Yeah,
no,
she
you
just
can
needs
take
it
it,
back.
she just needs
Take
it
with
back.
her.
Yeah.
Anybody else for Lake Cassie? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Joe Caricato. I live in 97 Lake Drive, Lake Cassie. I've been a resident for almost 36 years, and when I first bought my house, I was told by the former owner that because Lake Cassie is a lake community, we do pay a higher rate in taxes for that privilege. What I would like to know, and it's not an accusation type of question, but I would like to know where this extra tax money is going to. Now, as far as maintaining the beach and the clubhouse, we do get a newsletter stating that volunteers are requested from time to time to clean the beach and to maintain the clubhouse. So this extra tax money that we're paying for Lake Cassie residents, where's this money going to, and why isn't that being put into the funds?
Okay, good question, and I'm going to defer to the town controller, Mary Ann. Are you able to answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the budget in front of me, but the Lake Cassie Park District does have an operation and maintenance budget each year that covers the payroll for the lifeguards. There's workers' comp costs for the lifeguards, there's FICA and Medicare tax for the lifeguards. There's also insurance expense that is budgeted, engineering expense. I'd have to, if you want to come up to my office and look at the annual budget, you could. I think we pay, is it $13,000 a year for, is it Terry?
There's a maintenance.
Terry, maintenance person.
Yeah, but a lot of
to-
work that is done
Yeah.
is voluntary, so I don't
So there's-
understand why this extra tax money that we're paying is not paying for these repairs. And my other question, the second question, is were bids put out for this work, or is this just, this is what we need, this is what you're getting?
It was bid out.
Bid
It
was
wasn't,
put
this
out.
was the lowest
Six-
bid?
Yeah, I
Six
believe
came
six-
back.
There were 6 bids that came back.
If I can just go back to just your first question, the existing annual operation and maintenance of the Cassie District is $143,000 a year. So all of those costs that I just talked about, it's $20,000 for the lifeguard. I mean, I don't have the breakout in front of me, but I can definitely get that to you.
So the total maintenance cost is approximately 140,000. Does anybody know how much tax revenue is being collected for the Lake Cassie District?
I would say about that much money. It's
About that much?
Probably about 140,000. is
But no
being-
exact figures?
I'm
So
sorry?
no exact figures, so
Not
nobody
off-
can
not off
really
the top
tell
of my
me
head. I have it
how much
upstairs.
we're paying and how much,
Yeah, Mary Ann has
I do
the
have
that.
numbers,
That's
the
actually
exact
online.
numbers.
but you don't have it with you now?
You can actually see it online, too, as well, on our town website.
Because I would like to know
Lake
exactly if
Cassie.
our expenditures are known, why it's not known how much is being collected every year.
Oh, we
They
know-
both-
I do know that,
We
I
know
just
that.
don't, yeah.
We know how much is being collected. About
And you're saying
140,000.
basically that the 140 that you're expending is what you're collecting?
There's some interest expense that we collect as well, on our deposits, we collect that, so that offsets some of the tax revenue, but most of it is, I mean, there's really no other revenue other than Lake Cassie Clubhouse, that we charge the residents to rent the facilities. I mean, that does offset the tax levy, but most of it is taxes.
And there's building maintenance and repairs, upkeep, things like that.
Oh, no,
that
no, I
affect the
fully
building.
understand that, but we do get a newsletter, and they do ask for volunteers, so I know for a fact that volunteers are helping clean the beach and maintain the clubhouse. So I'm wondering, where is this money going to?
Sir, have you been to the clubhouse recently? Have you been there?
Yes, they did an excellent job.
And they do a
of
nice job?
Excellent.
That's where your
Excellent.
monies have gone.
Right, but
So-
that's a one-time expenditure.
Yeah,
The
so may-
taxes you're collecting are every single year. So you don't have that expenditure
Yeah,
every year.
so maybe once a
Jim
year.
can clarify that.
Yeah, but I think what he's asking, maybe once a year, and you guys may already do it, maybe put it out in the newsletter or something. You're also almost asking like a line item of where everything is going, just so the residents know. I mean, that's up to you guys, not up to us, but.
Well, I think it's only fair.
Yeah. He's asking for a breakdown of everything. He wants a breakdown.
I think Kim has it.
I'm going to clarify.
Right
So I'm
there.
just going to clarify his question. I'm Kim Kugler from
Kim,
Lake
just speak
Cassie.
into the mic.
Your name, ma'am?
Kim Kugler from Lake Cassie Advisory Board. So the newsletter that you get is sent out by us and the advisory board members. What we're asking for volunteers for in that newsletter are volunteers for residents to come out and give a hand for activities. That's what we're asking for
But also the
volunteers.
cleanup of the beach.
No, not clean up, we ask residents to clean up their lakefront. So those residents that live on the lakefront, to clean up their lakefront. So people who have waterfront properties to clean up their docks, any trash that goes in front of their house, in the lake. That's where we're asking. Other than that, what we're asking is if anyone wants to participate in the beautification projects, such as planting in the spring, things like that. We never ask anyone to come clean or help out in such other manner. That's what we have Terry for. Terry does a great job with maintaining the clubhouse, keeping it clean, and maintaining the beaches. And our lifeguards actually do the beaches. They clean the beaches for us. So we're not asking for volunteers from our residents to come out and help clean. If we ask for any help, it's to participate in a community event.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does that clear it up a little
Thanks,
bit
Kim.
for you?
Yeah.
If you have any further, with respect to the revenues versus the expenditures, Mary Ann, our controller, if you contact her office or come to the town hall to her office, she can provide you with all of that.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I would.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else, sir?
Jose Orengo, 139 Sheer Hill Road. You had 6 bids, and you seem to have chosen the third highest. Could you let us know, you came up to 1, 2, 3,
I have to open my file again,
All
I
right.
apologize.
and why not the lowest bid? That's my question.
No, it was the lowest bid.
It was the lowest? Didn't you come up with 180?
No, there was one at 166, but when we looked at the overall projects, when you had Upper and Lower Tea Kettle, The one, yours at 183, the lower price from Nikki Diggs was 298,833
For Lake Cassie?
for the, all three projects. So we looked at, because we
Oh,
put it out as
okay.
one bid, and they're gonna come in and do the work at once. So it was the entire project. The low bidder was
Okay.
Nikki Diggs.
All right.
What was the range again? So to hear?
183, the three lowest, 183, 189, 166. So 166 to 189.
And the highest?
485?
Yes, ma'am? There's two of them. Okay.
Hi, my name is Danielle Chiotti. I live on Baldwin Lane. I'm a Lake Cassie resident. So from what I understand, there's going to be a Phase 1, and then there is going to eventually be a Phase 2, which will have an added cost. Am I right on that?
Possibly.
Possibly. So then, as a resident whose family uses the lake, I'm just wondering, who hasn't really been able to use the lake in, I want to say, at least the last 4 years, if we're paying all of this money for a Phase 1, and then we have to pay for a Phase 2, I'm wondering, what's the point if the lake, over the last few years, has closed earlier and earlier, and then it's unusable for the entire summer because of what I'm hearing is blue-green algae, but then I also hear, well, it's not really blue-green algae, it's really septics leaking. So if we keep paying for a lake in our taxes and then are paying extra money to have this Phase 1 and Phase 2, we can't use the lake. I just want to know, is there a plan bigger than this? Because myself and my kids enjoy going to the lake. They love fishing, they love kayaking. The lake closes at the end of the June, never reopens. What's the point? Yeah.
Valid point. Good question.
I'm just going to emphasize that it's mandated by the
Yeah.
DEC.
Yeah,
Right,
well,
so the dam,
I
the
understand the
dam work
mandate.
has to be done by DEC. The bigger plan on this, and it's good news, that New York City DEP has issued, it's going to be issuing grant funding to do studies over Mud Pond, over Cassie, over a couple other lake districts within town of Carmel. Councilman Chanel was asked to work on that in the near future when the programs come up, to understand how to remove or sewer those areas. And one of them was the Lake Cassie area. So you're talking two different subjects. Yes, I understand that you're not able to use the lake because of the blue-green algae. The blue-green algae is caused from a multitude of things, runoff from roads, septic tanks leaking, or septic fields leaching out, fertilizer being used on the lawn, geese, a whole bunch of different aspects create that problem, to create the blue-green algae. The dam is a completely different, subject matter, even though it's connected to the lake itself. That's mandated. You don't have the dam, then you don't have the lake.
And I understand that it's mandated, but to me, it's all related because I live there, I'm paying for it in taxes, now I'm gonna pay for a Phase 1 and a Phase 2, but for the last 4 years, nothing has been, well, I don't know if nothing has been done, but from what I'm seeing, we still can't go there, so that's really my thing. I understand you have to fix the dam, I get that, but the summer's going to come and it's going to be another lost summer, because every year it's earlier and earlier that it closes. So, like we're moving quickly on this, I understand we have no choice, we have to move, but what are we doing about the lake and its usability for its residents who pay for it? That's kind of really what my question is.
Well, I can tell you the Putnam County Health Department has been investigating where they believe that there may be individual homeowners' septic systems may be failing and leaching into the lake. They have been actively looking into that. And they may have identified some suspected areas of where it could be coming
It
from.
was my understanding that they did.
They did, and they're moving forward with enforcement of that, of those property owners.
So is this a plan
I
that's
can't-
like coming soon?
I can't speak too much about that because it does involve the health department and property owners. So I know that they have identified properties that,
Okay, so then
They
is
have
it
been-
something that's going to be in play in the next few months as summer rolls around to get this, or is it going to be another?
What I can do is I can make a phone call to the health department and find out what the status of that is.
Right, that's what we want to know.
Yeah, I
We
could
just
do
wanna
that
know
and find out
what's
when-
going to happen.
Yep, I'll do
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then Danielle, I think what Rich was saying also is that they're going to hopefully get the grant to come and study the lake and then hopefully get it. I doubt it would be done this year, but as long as we're starting something, you know, hopefully you guys can use it soon, because it is frustrating living on a lake that you can't use.
There's studies to help find
know.
out why the blue-gray algae keeps
Yeah.
growing. It's a problem that's plaguing a lot of the lakes in Putnam County, and there's going to be a lot of, looking into it to see what's causing it. One question, Rich. As far as the maintenance that's going to occur under this timeline, under this funding, when was the last time that type of maintenance was done to the dam area?
I do not know that answer. It has not been done in the 6 years I've been, or 7 years I've been here, so it has not been performed.
And going forward, would you have a recommendation on maintenance, maybe to do it maybe 2 years instead of waiting for past 6 years?
It will be mowed, on a regular basis. It will become a grassed area. There will not be trees or shrubs on there anymore. It will be mowed as a regular mowed area, be maintained, and it will be picked up then by the park district. So once this is brought up, we're not going to have to remove trees again. But there are a lot of trees on all those dams, on the grand scheme of things.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Lodo, Lacona Road, sorry, probably too low. I just want to clarify, so this is now, it was a cumulative bid for the three different dams, but now, because of that, Lake Cassie is having to pay more than we would have otherwise if it was a different bid? Am I getting that
That was
correct?
the recommendation that was made to the board in early February, yes.
To what, to do them as one project? Is that?
Well, the bid went out, the bid package went out, and it's one package. So the aggregate low bid was the one that was selected.
Is there a reason it was done? Because it's only affecting these two communities as opposed to the whole town. I don't quite understand why it's one bid if it's going to disproportionately affect one community over the other. It doesn't quite make sense to me why it was done as one bid if that's going to end up happening.
It's done as one bid because the projects are very similar in nature. They're the exact same project. So you're gonna have one company mobilize in, do what they have to do, and then mobilize to the next one versus having two different, first off, operating and running two different contracts, and then worrying about two different contractors. In this case, one contractor comes in, it's typically how we do it, and they roll through the different
Well, I guess
contracts.
but I feel like that's typically something that would be done if it's the entire town paying for it. When you now have two distinct, unique, small communities paying for it, it's now disproportionately affecting one of those two communities based on the way it was bid. I don't think that's fair, personally. And I don't see how that's fair. That's just,
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
How are you? Bill Prezanka, 81 Baldwin Lane, Mayapack. I looked at the plans, and it says they're cutting down 29 trees to grade, you're leaving the stumps in. 29 trees. And then the other big part of the project is riprap, 12-inch riprap. So basically shoe-size pieces of stone, shoebox-sized pieces of stone, 6 inches high along the dam, 1 foot deep, 640 feet of the dam. That seems excessive at $230,000. What did the engineer's estimate come in at?
Rich, can you answer this?
So don't confuse what's in the map planning report to what the bid came in at. The bid came in at $183,450. The map planning report has to identify all the other soft costs that are associated with this in the future.
Okay.
That's why that number's higher. The engineering estimate came in at $199,150.
Okay, 199.
And just so you know,
Okay.
the 228, which is the total cost that's in the map plan and report, if that comes in lower after the project is complete, we will not bond out that full amount. We'll bond out less. So it'll be the 183, which was the bid price, and then any other soft costs. To prepare the map plan and report, we have to estimate that. So again, we won't bond out the full amount, we'll bond out the final exact cost.
And I questioned why we're cutting the trees down if typically a tree and brush and all that stuff would stabilize the soil. Why were we mandated to cut down the trees?
The state requires that there'll be no vegetation or trees on dams. It's not my decision. It's the state who has dictated that that needs to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ma'am, did you have something? Okay.
Corey Prada, 3 Stewart Road. As far as all of the homes that are being assessed this additional tax charge, is it just the members of the community association that are being assessed, or is it all of the Lake Cassie homeowners? Because I know that there are some homeowners that are not allowed to use the lake because they don't pay the assessment. So is it all of the well, I know that for a fact.
Years ago, before we were a lake district, I was on
459, I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute.
You gotta speak to the mic, otherwise nobody's gonna hear you.
All right, can I just hear
Yeah.
your response?
That's
Or,
It's everyone, it's every, whoever
It's
resides in the Lake Cassie Park District.
Whoever's in the
It's
park
a-
district.
So if
okay,
you-
because I know some homeowners pay an assessment, and I know other homeowners do not. I know a couple of my neighbors down the block can't use the lake because they don't get lake passes because they don't pay an
They
assessment.
part of the Lake District?
They may
Yeah.
not,
You sure?
That's what they've told me.
We always check the residents that come in with the assessor if they're part or not part of the Lake District. So
Okay,
not-
that's not the case. So every Lake Cassie,
It's a map, you know?
It's a
It's a map of the
Right.
entire,
Yeah.
all the homes that, 449?
459.
459.
Ms. Parada?
Yes.
Kim Kugler's here. She's on the Lake Cassie Park District Committee.
Kim Kugler again from Lake Cassie Park District. So anyone, if everyone takes a look at their tax bill, on their tax bill, there's a line that says Park District or,
whatever that is.
and as long as you have that on your tax bill, you are a tax-paying resident for the Lake Cassie Park District. That means you have access to the park, the use of the clubhouse, and the beach. If you don't have that on there, then you can't use the property. There may be people that live within the Lake Cassie area. There's been talk, and we've never gotten clarification over who has lake rights. So that's sometimes the confusion that we run into. But it's only for those residents who pay into their taxes.
Right, but if they're part of the Lake Cassie district, they should be paying part of the Lake Cassie assessment, and then they should too be part of this assessment.
That's something that we've been battling for years. And that goes back, that actually, that's something that would have to be discussed. I mean, we have multiple people that are this close to the Park District that want to become. And I know I've had a conversation with you, and everything would have to be retro for those people that want to join the district. And you have to look back at when the district was formed and what the taxes are going to be for those people who are going to join.
So it's in addition to the 459 parcels, you're saying that there may be some others?
There are others that want to
There are
join
others.
on the other side and
Kim,
around the
correct me-
outskirts,
Correct me if I'm wrong, Baxter Court and Cassie Court,
not part of the district.
not part of the district, but they're part of Lake Cassie, though.
Well-
It's part of the Lake Cassie subdivision.
Neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Development.
Neighborhood. It's part of the
I always
neighborhood, but
wondered
not
why
the district.
that's considered Lake Cassie, but they're not part in the Lake Cassie Park
What
District.
defines Lake Cassie, we don't truly know, other than they're in the proximity, close proximity. All we know are we know the 440 residents that make up the Park District.
Now, some of those residents that reside outside of the district, some may want to be incorporated or part of it, but there's others that may not want to be.
Right,
That
we have
may
had
wanna-
people inquire about
Right.
wanting to be a part of the district.
Yeah.
And I deferred that to Ann at one point, and we discussed it briefly. And it's something that we would have to have a vote on. We would have to get the majority of the residents to agree upon.
Yeah.
So it
would have to be
entails and involves a
yeah.
lot that.
And like you say, they would have to pay the
The
back.
retro, right. And
O&M.
I can tell you right off the bat, if anyone knew what the retro was to have to pay back, to pay into, to join the district, they would decline,
But
so.
by the same token, then you should set up
gonna
a
join.
date of, as of this date, if you want to be, then this is what the fee is and this is what it should be. I mean, you can't go back because
No, you
they
would
may
have,
lived there,
you'd have
and
to
they
go
had no
back.
control of it.
Yeah, you'd have to go back. It would have to go back.
Okay, yeah,
Just
we're
like
way off.
anything, it would
Like
have to go
anything,
back
there
to
could be
the,
an amnesty, and you can make a decision, okay, as of this date, we are going to say this is the line, and move forward. You know, I think that
Well,
would be
this
a
is a-
reasonable thing. You can't go
Yeah,
retroactively
you know,
if you didn't
guys,
live there for 100 years.
that's a whole nother
Yeah,
topic.
that's-
No, but again, this is all part of charges that are being, you know, introduced to the residents that have been
Yeah.
paying, and versus other residents that are part of the Lake Cassie district. And
When it was originally formed, that's right, not many, when the district was being formed, those homeowners did not want to be part of the Lake Park District.
Right, but my house was built in, okay, but my house was built in 1992. We pay these assessments. We weren't there when the
And that's where.
association was formed, but our house was built in 92, not in 57 or 54, whatever it was that it was, you know. So,
It's nothing to do with the association.
right, they need to form some kind of some kind of.
So let me
format.
just.
Sorry, I don't mean to
No.
harass you.
So I just want to add one thing to end this conversation. Lake Cassie has a community meeting scheduled for April 23rd, I think it is. It's on our Facebook page. Anyone that is, even if you're not part of the Park District, you can still come to the meeting to
Guys,
voice.
excuse me. Too many people are talking. Thank you.
You can still come to the park, you could still come to our community meetings to inquire, to ask any other questions, and to touch on that topic as well. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the public hearing for the borrowing of the dam?
Good evening. John Bjork, I live on Sheer Hill Road. A simple question. Who owns the lake? Who owns Lake Cassie?
Who owns the
Who
lake itself?
owns the lake?
good question.
Yeah, it's Lake Cassie Park District.
I would think you're.
And who owns Lake Cassie Park District? What is that part of? Lake Carmel? Lake Mayapack? Town of Mayapack? Town of Carmel?
It's a body of water that's in
The town of Carmel.
the town of Carmel
Town of
that's
Carmel.
owned by
You
the
guys are
Lake Cassie
commissioners.
Park District.
You
Okay.
guys are commissioners.
Correct me if I'm
commission-
wrong. The clubhouse is open to anyone in the town, correct?
No.
No.
For
no.
rent?
It's for
No.
use by the residents that reside in the Lake Cassie Park District. If you're part of the Park District, you have access and use of the clubhouse.
I was under the understanding it was out for anybody who lived in the town.
No.
No. No, they're here now, the Park District people are here now, and
Yeah, I
that's,
know they're here.
I don't believe that's the case, so,
It's not?
No.
no.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You want to come up?
She has to. Yeah. Kenny, she has to.
Okay.
So every house that is part of
Uh,
Lake Cassie is
Ma'am,
responsible.
can you please come up to the, I'm sorry. I know you don't want to, but they can't hear you at home.
This
And-
is how I understood it. We've been here since, God knows when. My husband was one of the first ones in Lake Cassie, his family. The lake is a man-made lake. And because of that, every house that's part of the district has to pay the taxes on the land under the lake. Years ago, it was like $7 a year, and people weren't paying it. So the town took the lake over as the park district. That's why the taxes are levied by the town now, because years ago, they had to go around and collect the taxes manually, and people would refuse to pay them. So that's why. But every person is responsible to pay the taxes on that lake bottom. I don't know if that clarifies
thank
anything.
you.
No, that
Yeah,
does
no, it
help. Thank
clarified
you.
a lot.
It does clarify it.
Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am. Very good. See, that wasn't that hard, right? It wasn't so bad. Anybody else on public hearing number 1? Otherwise, we're going to close it if there isn't any comment.
One more.
Mr. Pezzo?
How are you?
Are you part of Lake Cassie Park District?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, the spring is here. We want to see the promise you people kept. What's going to be on Cussy Court? We're going to fix it?
That has nothing to do with this public hearing. The condition of Cassie Court
Yeah.
is immaterial right now. This is only on the dam project where we're borrowing money.
I apologize then.
You-
That come up.
Yeah, this isn't the
Later in
time
the
for that,
meeting,
Mr.
you'll have a
You
President.
can
chance to
come
talk.
up
Thank you.
later.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak that's on public hearing number 1? If not, we're going to close it.
Kenny.
Oh, yep.
Yes, ma'am?
Hello, my name is Helen Sclafani from 35 Longdale. And my question is, on Phase 1, you said that our taxes will go up how much for the year?
About
$39,
about
$39 to
$39,
$40.
That's Phase 1, because everything is about money. Like the library, it was going to go up just 700, and before we know it, it's more, and the school keeps going up, and Putnam County taxes are way out of, they're like Westchester taxes. So $39 for how many years? 10 years?
So this is a
Up
bond.
to 15
This is a
years.
bond.
For 15 years?
15.
Now, after Phase 2, we don't know how much taxes are going to go up.
We don't know anything about
If there is a phase 2.
Right, if the dam does need more
If
work,
it needs more work, then yes, there would be additional funding that would have to be allocated from the Park District residents to pay for the cost of that.
Okay, but
If-
right now on record, it is $39 for the year.
Well,
On a house-
39
on
to
a house-
40.
For 39 to
A house that's
44.
asse- Ma'am, on a
assessed
house
at
that's assessed at about 350.
355.
The
355.
increase to pay that bond estimated is roughly $39 per year.
All right. I
Now,
just
that's
want-
just to clarify, if you read the public hearing, this is the maximum estimated cost. So that's the maximum that we would ever have to borrow, but when you go out for bid, when you go out for a bond, you have to have a dollar amount, and X, the top number is this. So if we needed more money than this, then we'd have to go out for another public hearing to let you know what that amount is. So this is the top amount, so chances are, it's probably gonna be less, but we won't know that until we're
Right.
completed.
Right.
So the bond, and I don't mean to interrupt you, so therefore, if it's over 15 years, the estimated cost on a property that's assessed at 355 is $39. That would be a fixed cost for that bond in the amount of 228,206, right? So if it's less, if Mary Ann's able to get it for less,
Correct.
or comes in for less, or the interest rate is less, then of course, it won't be 39, it'll be 35, 30, whatever.
All right.
Okay.
I just want to know, because like I said, our taxes seem to go up every single year.
This-
We don't get a break.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is,
you
this
need
is
to
so.
budget.
Once we
Yeah.
bond this out, it will be a fixed cost.
Excuse me?
Once we bond this out, after the project is complete, it will be a fixed cost, it won't change,
Okay.
okay?
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Kim?
So I just want to sum up two quick things. Is it possible for us to get an itemization of the bid, of what that first bid entails?
Of course, all the files are in my office, you come by anytime you want.
Okay. Because
It's on the website too, right? Or it was on the prior the work session was February, Kim?
Yeah.
Somewhere in February where we had.
I mean, I have the list of the 6 different bids,
No, she wants to bid,
I-
you want each, for how much each
spec?
individual item was.
just the one from Nikki Diggs.
Yep. Yeah, come to the office, I have it there.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
I ask if you can really consider, I know that you're trying to do this so it's the cheapest in total. Tea Kettle isn't, for lack of better words, a leisure lake. We use our lake, and we want to get back to using it, and I know that we've been dealing with the blue-green algae over the years. But please take into consideration the fact that we have a lake, and residents have expressed their concerns. It's on our Facebook page as well. Their biggest concern is that we are putting more money into a lake that we're not able to use, and we're dealing with the dam. The bids, out of all the 6 bids, we have the highest bid. or, I'm sorry, our bid came in for 183,000. There's a lower bid for 166, but it's not the lowest bid for Tea Kettle upper and lower. So my point is, can we reconsider and look at a lower bid for us just because we're already paying for something that we can't use? You know, and I know that we're putting it out to bond, but just something to consider.
Rich?
The town board voted on this particular setup the way it is, and that's where we're at. So it's up to the board if we want to throw these bids out, redo it, have it as two separate bids. I mean, this is a board decision. The way the bid specs were set up was to go out as one, award it as one, not pick it, not go from column A to column B. I don't know if we can, maybe that's something Greg and I could talk about. We can go from there, so. But I think we voted on this already, sorry.
You certainly haven't awarded it because we don't have the funding in place. We would not have voted on
We haven't
awarding the bid.
awarded it. It hasn't been awarded.
We awarded, no, we voted, the board voted on the design and putting it out to bid, but we haven't awarded it because the funding's not in place. The funding's not going to be in place till the bond resolution's passed and the estoppel period ends. So that's not, we talked about, it's going to be into April.
An estoppel period.
Yeah, it's going to be into April before we can award it. That's how we got into the,
Right.
is it the bat or the turtle? What is it?
So if the board can consider looking at a lower bid for Lake Cassie, I mean, we use our lake. Tea Kettle doesn't. Not that I want to incur costs on them either, but it's just something we asked to consider.
Yes, sir. Bill Przanka again. If I read the plans correctly, the trees have to be cut by March 31st of this year.
No, so that's obviously not
That's
gonna
just
happen.
part of the plans?
Right. No, so in order for it to happen on March 31st, I mentioned it before, there's the northern long-eared bat.
Yes.
The habitat that's out there has to go from, you can cut trees from November 1st to March 31st, and you don't have to worry about the hibernation and/or the, patterns of the northern long-eared bat. After March 31st, you need to either get a permit from the state or you have to do an additional assessment to make sure that there isn't a breeding area for this or habitat for them. So they can be cut, so,
Is there additional costs to get new permits?
well, I'm working with the DEC to get those permits now, but we might have to bring, it's part of the map plan and report was to have additional costs for permitting in case we need to have you need to have, according to the DEC, a wildlife expert who knows trees and bats. So,
Good
welcome
luck.
to my world.
Good luck.
Rich, two questions. Is there a time frame this has to be done?
No, there's no hard time frame, except that we want to start meeting the DEC's criteria. I'd have to double check what they put in their letters to us. I don't know that answer.
Do you have separate bids on both lakes?
No, I don't know.
You just said you have,
So they came in with different, each one came
Each
in,
one-
was Cassie, upper, and then lower.
Broken down.
Yeah, broken down.
they all broke down.
Yeah, separate bids.
So we'd like to see the broken down numbers before we do anything.
They were provided in that February 6th memo. It's all in there. Yeah,
But I'm
they're-
saying, you presented it to the board as a one package.
Right, that's how I presented it. Right.
Okay.
But in that backup,
So we can, if we want to split it, we can split it.
okay, yeah, and that's fine. We could do that then. We could.
And you're not going to do that sometime into April, so you have the time.
That's the question, are we locked into a time frame?
No,
With the-
you're locked with DEC?
With the current bids that we have, are we locked?
The bids are going to be kept open for 60 days?
It was either 60 or 90 days.
Bids are open. You'll authorize the borrowing up to a certain amount, presumably next week. That means if you spend less, as has been discussed, that's fine. And if you want to consider doing an à la carte award of the bid, you're not going to do that until sometime in the second week of April. I think the 15th is the meeting for the second voting meeting. You won't make it by the 1st, but that's when you'd be doing that, so you can
So
consider.
Greg,
It falls in a timeframe.
are you saying that it's possible, like, I'm just going to say, bid number 1 had Lake Cassie be cheaper than bid number 2, but bid number 2 had Tea Kettle be cheaper? We can take the Lake Cassie from bid number 1 and somebody else from bid number 2?
Yes.
An
Yeah,
à la
so,
carte
yeah,
selection, is that what you're asking?
It's very simple. It's black and white on this one. Nikki Diggs came in low for lower Tea Kettle and upper Tea Kettle, and Legacy Supply came in for Cassie, the lowest. There's no intermingling. So you don't have to worry about Upper Tea Kettle being lower or Lower Tea Kettle being lower. The one company came in low for the Tea Kettle Lakes, and the other company came in low for Cassie, and it was,
I would say yes.
so yeah.
You can reward it that way.
So you can, so each district has a contractor that came in
You
low.
could just spend less, you won't change the number.
So you can break the
You can break the
contract.
contract out.
So you can break the contract out then,
Yeah.
and they'll keep that price.
Did the bidders
bid
break the
price.
contract out? Because their excavation company is doing tree work.
They bid individually and they bid as a group, so they know what their individual bid is. Relook at the bids, give the bid to the lowest bidder on each lake and separate it.
Right, which will say,
I don't, that's how we believe they bid.
Which is the
so.
right way it should have been done.
all right. I'm fine with doing it that way, Richie.
That's fine.
All right. Everybody understand that? You
No,
didn't understand that?
I'm not even I'm not
Yeah, I
understanding
know,
it either.
but I think we've arrived at a pretty good conclusion as to how we're gonna perhaps save money to Lake Cassie and to Tea Kettle is by, Rich, explain how that would work?
The lowest bidder for Cassie will get it, will be awarded the project.
Give the number.
Not the aggregate lowest. So when you look at all the bids together for all three dams, the lowest bidder was $298,000 and change. The next lowest one was $333,000. The next one was $335,000. So when we look at it, we assessed it, 298 was the lowest overall. Yes, Cassie had a higher number, but Lower and Upper Tea Kettle had a lower number. They bid it as that aggregate number and gave us 298, but there were different bid sheets for each one of them. So what the board and what we've just discussed was, hey, Lake Cassie had a lower one from another company, and Tea Kettle had the lower one from Company B, therefore we can go with that. So the aggregate cost will be lower probably than the 298 when you're looking at it, but it'll go to two separate companies, or
So-
contractors.
So what, just for the benefit of the public, how much was the low bidder for Lake Cassie?
167,000 versus what in the one that was provided was 183,000.
So it's lower than 167.
Yeah.
By about,
So,
15, 20.
Rich, I just have.
By 20,000.
Yeah, I just have one question, though.
Yeah.
When the companies bid them for the two separate things, they bid it as a package. And usually when you bid them as a package, it's because everybody's out there. And that's why a lot of times that we bid in groups, because it gets a lower price. Now, if we take the 167 thing, they're gonna keep that price even though they're not getting the other job.
We have to go and ask those guys, the contractors
That's why I
that,
don't
the
wanna-
answer is most likely yes.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure, because we have to ask them to make sure that they're gonna do that.
Right.
Okay.
Right, okay,
No
yep,
contract
perfect.
is
Not
gonna walk
talking to
into
the
the
contract.
Yeah, nothing's been awarded.
And we're not talking to anybody before you award it.
Right.
That's not happening either. Okay.
We're not.
You're not. Okay. We're not. After you award it, have at it, but not before.
Okay.
Public bid, communicate with the bidders, absent an amendment or addendum
Okay.
prior to award of the
But
bid.
if,
All right.
but if,
All right, so is that clear now? Do everybody understand that there is a lower bidder that would reduce the amount of the cost, which would reduce your annual cost by whatever it is, it's a savings, by 20,000.
20 grand.
20 grand. Oh, okay,
180 and 167, correct?
16,000 is the number.
16,000?
16,000.
Okay. All right, is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak for public hearing number one? If not, we have to go on to public hearing number two, which is Lake Tea Kettle.
Well, we need to close one,
Or we have to close one and then go on to the other one. I'm just asking if anybody else needs it. All right, so there isn't anybody else? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
I need a motion to close public hearing one.
I'll make a motion.
Made by Councilman Shannell.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lombardi and Borelli. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good night, everyone from Lake Cassie.
Hey, thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for coming. Go- Oh, we need that report back.
That's it.
Is this it? Okay, thank you. Thanks for being here.
I just need that. That's mine.
Time.
No, I need the report.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's short, Frank. It's short. It's a one paragraph.
No, she wanted her report back.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted me to read the public hearing. Oh, are you okay reading the public hearing?
Okay. You ready? Hold on.
Okay.
Give everybody a minute to settle down.
Ladies and gentlemen, could you go out in the lobby, please? Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on with public hearing number 2. I just need the room to be quiet, if we can. If you want to talk, you can go out in the lobby and talk all you like. If not, have a great night. Thanks for being here. Okay, I'm going to ask the town clerk to read the notice of public hearing number 2.
Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, Putnam County, New York, will meet at the Town Hall, 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, on March 11, 2020, at 7:00 p.m. prevailing time for the purpose of conducting a public hearing upon a certain map plan and report, including an estimate and cost in relation to the proposed increase and improvement of the facilities of Lake Tea Kettle Park District in said town, consisting of the reconstruction of dams at Lake Tea Kettle, including original furnishing, equipment, machinery, apparatus, appurtenances, and incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith, at a maximum estimated cost of $157,206. Said capital project has been determined to be a Type 2 action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, promulgated pursuant to State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, the implementation of which, as proposed, said regulations provide, will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. At said public hearing, said town board will hear all interested persons in the subject matter thereof. The town board will make every effort to assure that the public hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk. By order of the town board of the town of Carmel, Ann Spofford, town clerk.
Perfect, so I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
You got that, Annie? Okay. So the public hearing for number 2, which is Tea Kettle Park District, is open. Is there anyone that would like to come up and speak? Oh, come on, guys.
John,
Somebody.
you were here
Somebody
you're here for an hour and a half. You might as well come up.
Somebody come up. Okay,
Questions were answered?
I was going to say,
Okay.
it's ditto. We'll do the same thing. We'll pick the lower bidder, and that's it. We're
All right.
good? You guys are awesome. See that? The supervisor leaves, and it's like 20 seconds, boom. But, all right, yep, anybody else? No, all right, so motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Oh,
Hold on.
hold on, we're
see.
going to, thanks, we're going to renege it.
Dan Pearsall, Mapac. How long of a bond are we looking at with this
15
one?
years.
15
The
also?
same as well, yeah, it's a
Fine.
15-year bond, and
Oh, do you want to know the amount?
the,
I know the amounts.
Oh,
you know the amount, okay.
I'm there.
Just for the public, it will
Yeah.
be on a house assessed at, let me find my assessment.
355?
320, actually, for Tea Kettle, the assessment is lower, 320,708. The cost would be $23.44, a 15-year
34
bond.
cents.
All right, thanks.
Perfect, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
So now we'll close, it's closed, right, Annie?
Motion
Yep.
to close the public hearing?
Make a motion again to close,
So moved.
Frank?
I'll second it.
All right, perfect. So the public hearing number 2 is closed. Thank you, everyone.
And then we're going to close the special meeting.
So we're going to close the special meeting. I need a motion to close the
So
special
moved.
meeting. By Frank Lombardi,
I'll second it.
seconded by Bob Chanel. All in favor? I don't have to do all in
Aye.
favor, right?
Aye.
We're good?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Yep, so now we're going to open up the town board work session. I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so it's just a review of the town board minutes of March 4th. Anybody have any questions, suggestions? Nope, all right. So number 1, consider reappointment to the Town of Carmel Environmental Conservation Board. This is for Bob Laga. He's currently the chairman of the ECB, and he's served on the ECB for the last 10-plus years. He's familiar with the procedures and protocol and serving on the board, and he would love to reapply for the position. Does anybody have any comments?
Nope. He's doing a good job.
Perfect, yeah, I think he's doing a great job.
I'll prepare a resolution to that effect.
Yep, so you'll prepare, thank you, Greg. Number 2, Chief. Chief has number 2 and 3. Number 2 is consider request to authorize purchase of police vehicles. And number 3, actually you have number 4 too. Consider request to authorize purchase of LifeScan fingerprinting. And number 4, consider request to accept quote for the purchase of ammunition for the police department. All right, Chief, you're up.
Real quick.
Real quick.
So the purchase of 20...
So purchasing vehicles, we budgeted for 3 Dodge Chargers all-wheel drive, and we budgeted for an unmarked Jeep for a detective's vehicle, $145,174.07. It's a state contract through, it's actually a bid through Oneonta County, through that Dodge dealer that we use upstate.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right, and the chief gave us a list of his vehicles and which ones he's considering replacing. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Chief, why are you going to a Jeep?
Because it was all-wheel drive, I was looking for something that had more room in the back if they wanted to bring evidence up to the lab and whatnot.
What I'm saying, we're changing, right? What do we have now is four-wheel drives.
Well, to do the Durango, it's a lot more money, that's why.
Okay.
It was just a question of
Okay.
saving $17,000.
Okay.
This is in the budget already from last year, right? Yes?
Yes, we budgeted for it.
Yes?
We budgeted for it, yes.
Yep, it's all budgeted. Yes, it's in
You
the
didn't hear-
budget.
you didn't hear me.
All right, chief, number 3, please.
So the live scan is?
Yep.
3. So the fingerprint machine, this is another thing that we share with Westchester. They're our repository for our arrests. Through the Ricky system, it's live scanned biometric fingerprinting. The company, as of January, was no longer supporting this version. They're forcing everyone in the state to buy new. So New York State offered a grant through Division of Criminal Justice Services. We applied for that. We're getting $10,000 of that. It's going to be 26,000 something. So requesting permission to purchase the new machine, which we're forced to do anyway, and we're going to accept hopefully a $10,000 reimbursement after the fact.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody have any questions, comments? No? Perfect,
I'll
thank you.
do a resolution for that. Okay.
Yeah, please, Greg.
Sure.
And then, so our
Just ask if you
vendor
want
for
it.
ammunition is Eagle Point, they're in New Jersey. They have the contract with the state for federal ammunition. Every year, we buy bullets for firearms training that now we do twice a year. So it's $19,246.48 is what we're requesting to make that purchase. And like I said, it's on state
It's on
contract.
state contract. All right, so resolution next week, Greg,
Yes,
please?
like- yep.
Anybody have any questions, comments? No.
Thank you, chief.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, chief. Stay safe. So the next up is Jimmy Gilchrist, Director of Recreation and Parks, to consider request to award bid 2020 Summer Camp Program Bus Transportation. Jimmy?
Sure. Yeah, we sent our bid package out to 26 potential vendors, and we also had that in the newspaper. We had 2 that responded. One of them, which is our lowest bidder, is Bauman Bus Company. We've used them over the last number of years. I think it's 6 out of the last 8 years. They also provide busing service for the town of Bedford and the town of Yorktown camp programs. Excellent. We've had no issues with them. Great bus company. Majority of the drivers are from the local area. And we also have our police department that do background screening on the drivers. We usually, if it's a new company, we would go out and look at the bus garage, talk to the dispatcher and all that, but at this point, we're very comfortable with this company. And there is a significant difference between the 2 different the prices that came
Yeah,
in.
it's huge.
It's about half, yeah.
Yeah.
And these prices did go up. I checked last year, just so you're aware of the costs out there. Last year, for trip number 1, we paid $437 per bus. This year, they're at $594. And then for trip 2, last year, it was $329, and it went up to $499. So they are costs that did jump up.
They did increase.
Yeah. So, we actually, we looked at some of our camp trips, and the cost, we raised the cost of day camp this year because of the cost that we were paying on some of the trips and also the increase in salaries that we're paying our counselors. So we'll be able to cover that through the budget.
All right. Jimmy, are they going to longer distances? Is maybe that's why they went up? Or
No,
not?
same
No,
exact
same
trips,
thing?
same trips,
Okay.
yeah. From year to year, you never know what you're going to get on that, but
Yeah.
I was surprised that we only had the 2 that came back. Usually we have at least 4 that come back.
All right, Jimmy, thanks.
You
So,
got it, thank you.
so the supervisor's back, we're up to
I'm
number
back.
6.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, Susie, what'd you do with all the public hearing number 2 people?
It was easy.
Was there anybody
No,
who-
it was just like
It was
ditto,
easy? All right.
ditto.
All right. You gotta run the meetings more often. What are we on?
It's number 6, Richard Franzetti.
Moving right along.
Rich has 6, 7, and 8.
All right, Rich.
Go ahead, Kenny, you're up.
Rich, 6 is consider request to accept proposal for town planning consultant services.
All right, thank you. So requests for proposals were solicited for the planning consulting services on January 15th. The RFP was included as part of the package submitted, along with the proposal list and New York State bid solicitation document was where this was sent out to. It was to engage services of a professional planning consultant to support the planning, building, and engineering department staff in review of residential, commercial, and redevelopment applications, and providing recommendations for the town boards, excuse me, town planning board, zoning board of appeals, and town board as required. The RFP identified the contract would be effective for 21 months, the remaining portion of this year and the entire calendar year of 2021, with the unilateral option of the town of Carmel to extend the term for 2 additional one-year periods. That would be years 2022 and 2023. I'm not going to read through the scope of work, but there was a scope of work that was identified in the RFP. It's in the memo. The RFP did require that proposers provide a total cost with a proposed budget for the work. Proposals were received from the engineering office on February 21st. 4 firms submitted. 2 firms, Hardesky and Hanover and Cleary Consulting, provided lump sum costs within 16% of each other for 2021. 2 were considered to be unresponsive to the RFP, Keller Sessions and Nelson Pope and Voorhees, as they did not provide pricing for all services and provided either a time and material for Keller Sessions or a combination of a retainer and time and material Nelson Pope and Voorhees. I provided a more detailed analysis of the proposal. Cleary, for the remainder of 2020, was offering a price of $45,000, and for 2021, 22, and 23, $60,000. H&H at $70,000 for this year and for the remaining 3 years. K&S did not provide an estimate of the work, that's Keller and Sessions. And MPV was to receive an annual retainer for basic services contracted separately for larger planning board applications and town board matters. They caveated the proposal. The retainer was $20,000 for 2020 and $24,000 for the remaining years. It would provide on-call service for about 10 hours a month. Any excess of 10 hours would be billed at an hourly rate. Review of small applications that qualify as type 2 actions under seeker, non-conforming residential applications. The review of the application or planning matters by neighboring municipalities, and to attend executive session as needed. The hourly billing, they defined how the hourly billing would be applied. Both Keller Sessions and MPV identified that they would use against escrows. We don't, the town of Carmel Planning Department does not issue escrows for planning matters in front of it right now. So based on the evaluation of the cost, proposed scope of work, we recommend the contract be awarded to Cleary Consulting as the most responsive to the firm, the most responsive firm to the town's needs. There are, we've advised the controller of the expenditure, and there are sufficient funds in the budget for the work as described.
Rich, a couple questions. How long has the current planner been in, the current planner?
I believe 25 years?
How long?
About 25 years?
25 years.
I think so, yes.
Okay. Well, considering we've had a planner for 25 years, and I drive down to the...
We haven't. No.
12, I thought it was 12.
12.
12 sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it's around 12.
He was there in the 90s,
Then there was somebody.
and then there was a break.
Magnus was here.
Yeah, so he's served the town for about 20, 25 years overall, aggregate.
He served the town about 20 years overall, and I know for at least, in fact, the last dozen is 14.
Oh.
From driving through town, I think it's time for a change. And I'm bothered by the fact, well, I'm not bothered by it, I, for one, am telling you, I'd like for you to go back to NPV and tell them to put the rest of the things in that they didn't have in the first time. I want to know their final number. They wowed us with their presentation on the comprehensive plan. And if we trust them for our new plan for the town, I'm quite sure we would trust them as a planner. And the contract's only for 1.5 years. And it's a woman-run firm. I like to see a woman get the job. That's just me. So I want you to go back, get her on the phone or get her in here, because it had 20 for the first year and 24 for the remaining years. There's a lot of fat in there, and I think she'll come in cheaper than the numbers you have now. And there's no doubt in my mind that that position in this building needs to be changed. I can't say that more emphatically. 1 of 5. I hate that expression, but I have to use it.
Okay. Rich, NPV, Nelson Pope Voorhees, did they give us a number? Did they bid this, or no?
Yeah,
They did?
they bid. They gave us $20,000 for a retainer for the remainder of this year, but then time and material or billing hourly afterwards. So they didn't give a lump sum number.
That's why I asked for him to go back and get a lump sum number or a guesstimate.
Can they do it?
Am I allowed to do that, Greg? I mean, yeah, okay.
Professional services, you can
Yep,
certainly
okay.
ask them to do that.
Sorry, Ken.
It's not a public works project or purchase of goods that's being built.
Should we do it with Kellard and Sessions too then?
If that's more additional pricing, it probably can't hurt to have the information.
Well, it didn't hurt the information when the engineer took it upon himself to bring people back and get different pricing on several other items that we've done in the last couple of months without us even knowing. I want him to go there and get the information.
What project was that, Mike? I don't remember that project.
Yeah.
Do you really want me to say it?
If we're talking about the Carmel Water District 2, I brought that to the board and asked the board if we should do that, and the board directed me to do that. That wasn't my,
The board directed you to go back?
that wasn't my
It's not for
unilateral
tonight.
decision to do that for Water District 2.
The board directed you to go back? And
I asked the board to talk to them, that we should talk with them.
I'm not going there tonight. Mike,
We
like to
did,
see a woman
you're
get the job.
correct. You're correct.
who's correct?
Rich is correct. He did come to us, and we asked him to go back and bring the people back in, if we're talking about the same vendor.
After he did-
Vendors.
After he did, I asked him to go back and get the
Okay.
other people in, and he said he did. I had no idea he did that. None whatsoever. And the discussion, different topic.
Okay, so NPV is doing the comprehensive plan, right?
Correct,
And code revisions.
correct.
That's a pretty big
Can
deal.
okay, so during that process, during the comprehensive plan, master plan discussions, can NPV serve as the comprehensive plan consultant and the town planner simultaneously? Can they do both?
Are you asking if they have the
Well,
capabilities or the staff to do it?
Is there a
Or is it
conflict?
legally, is there a
Is there a
conflict?
No, they're not in a position where they're reviewing their own work, where they're the planner or the planning consultant for the purposes of the comprehensive plan, and they're an applicant, in both capacities, they're advising the town.
So they
or the
could,
town's
they could
boards.
potentially act as both?
I don't see that as a conflict.
Okay,
I mean,
that's my question.
They proposed, okay, and that the engineering and architecture professions both have ethical constraints, okay? And I think if they had one within their own code of conduct, they would have not bid it. But I don't see that there's an issue because they're both advising the board in the exact same capacities, whether it's on a specific project, what's best for the town, or an overall concept in the law, code, or the actual comprehensive plan.
Okay. No, all right. All right, so what's the board inclined to do with this? Do you want the engineer to go back out and
For the benefit of the
solicit
people, benefit of the
further
community.
further bidding from the, well, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, Mike. I'm good with it, as long as it's something that the board's in agreement with, that you want the engineer to go ahead and do that,
Well,
and
here's-
maybe we'll get better
Here's
pricing.
the choice. Keep someone that's been here for 20 years, or ask someone that we gave the big deal to come back and go over their price with them. I don't think it's too much to ask.
Okay, I do want to have somebody on board soon, though. If we're gonna go that route, that we need to act on this quickly.
You only have
because-
to the end of the month,
Yeah, Cleary ends
On
at
March
the end
31st.
Until March.
Okay. All
This
right.
is over in.
or you extend that for another month if that's what the board would incline to do to move this
Exactly what
forward.
we said when we said we're sending out this RFP. There is no pressure on us. We could extend it another month.
Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we're really going to get into the discussions with respect to the master plan very quickly. When is Bonnie coming back?
The first meeting is the end of April. I spoke with her
Okay,
today.
the end of April?
Yeah, they've already started
You know
working
what,
on it.
where I'm going with this, Mike, my point is, we need to have a planner on staff, hired, when those discussions begin, or shortly thereafter. If it takes a little, couple weeks more longer, fine, but I'd like the planner to be part of those
He could,
meetings.
I'm quite sure Rich can get the answers by Friday.
Okay, all right, so let's
I
do that
just,
then.
I will try to do that, to get it by you by close of business tomorrow. I'm off on Friday, Councilman Frilly, so I'm sorry about that, but I will try to get it by close of business tomorrow. If not, I'll have it for you on Monday.
Okay, so,
If that's acceptable?
all right, so who are you gonna be reaching out to, Rich? NPV and who else?
Do you want me to reach out to Kellard and Sessions, or no?
Sure, sure. Chuck, go ahead. It can't hurt. You're reaching it, right?
Be
You're
fair to
reaching out to
everybody.
MPV, so reach out to Keller and Sessions also. All right? Board?
Yeah,
Rob?
Yeah.
All right, Susie?
More information is better.
Okay, let's do that then. All right. Thanks, Rich. All right,
You're
next,
still stuck
7.
with me right now.
Huh?
You're still stuck with me up here.
I'm stuck with you, yeah. We're stuck with you. Consider request to award bid for sewer jetting services, sewer districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
In the attached resolution, the engineering department was advertised bids for the reference project on February 13th of this year. Bids were received and opened by the town clerk on February 28th. Bid opening results were attached to the memo, including indicating that 5 bids were received. The bids were tabulated and verified, and no irregularities were found. The contract term is for 2020 and 2021, unilateral option on the part of the town board to go 2022 and 2023 at the bid prices. There's a spreadsheet attached to the memo that has all the units, unit pricing and extension for all 4 years. The bid results were as follows for all 4 years. Ranged from 359,923 to 1.33 million. 2.7 million dollars, I apologize. The low bid here was TAMS Enterprises in Goshen. TAMS has performed miscellaneous work for the town of Carmel, including sewer jetting. And based on prior experience with TAM, we've determined the company is qualified to do the work as outlined in the bid specs. We recommend the project be awarded to TAMS for the years 2021 at a total amount of $176,398. There are sufficient funds in the various budgets for this work.
Rich, any idea what's causing such disparity between the bid amounts? Low being 359, high being 2 million? What causes that?
Don't know.
So it's such a,
It's the same question every week.
Yeah, it just seems really
Well, if you
out of
look,
proportion-
if you look at the
disproportionate.
things, just on the third page, whatever, 4 times per year, the bidder 2 is 77,700, and bidder 3 is 12,243. So it all comes down to the numbers, 79,000 compared to 12,000, 20,000 compared to 3,000.
They're doing the same, they
They're
bid the
doing
same type of work.
the same type of
Same
work.
scope of services,
Yep.
but the bid numbers are
Yep.
way crazy.
Yeah.
And Rich, it might be just me, and it probably is, you have it as 176,398 for 20 and 21, right? So is it just 176,398 times 2 is the 359,923? Is that what it is?
Just
Their
double check
bid
that.
number, TAM, came in at 359,923.
That's for 4 years.
That's 4 years is the 359. But we only, the contract is only for this year and next year. It's unilateral for the next 2 years. So we're only asking for the approval for the next 2 years.
He's asking for half the money.
Okay, so that's why.
And then we can budget, if we want to, we'll be budgeting for that. They've already provided us the numbers for the next 2
Okay.
subsequent years after that.
All right, so that's why the number's 176,398?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Okay, any other questions or comments on this item for Rich?
What exactly is the scope of that?
So that was something Rob Vary and I developed for this. It was identifying various areas in sewer districts 2, sewer district 4, all our sewer districts in essence, to jet out areas that have been known to have either grease buildups or blockages in the past. So what we've been doing is being reactive with our jetting, and we'll have to call in a TAMS or a Fred Cook and say, hey, we have a backup in downtown Mahopac right now, jet it out, right? And now we're gonna be doing it on a regular basis. So we don't have to call them, it'll be done quarterly, at least for Sewer District 1, it'll be done that frequently. We may pull back some of the costs, some of the frequency on this if we need to, but the prices are pretty good on the low ends.
Okay, thank you.
So the one for Sewer District 1, the reason why this was let out is because for Sewer District 1, we needed to do it as part of the collection system, which is who we own and operate, and not the plant. We're co-permittees, and that's something that the state required as a co-permittee. So we figured instead of just looking at Sewer District 1, you get bang for the buck by doing it throughout every district, and you also get the same kind of environmental impacts and not have to worry about grease backups.
Thank you.
Oh, so that's why they're saying, like, in Carmel Sewer District number 1, it'll be 4 times a year. That's what these are, they're gonna jet it 4 times a year.
And that was in the spec, so we called it 4 times a year in
Yeah.
districts 1 and 2, 4 and 4, and then all the others, 3, 5, 6, and 7 were 3 times a year. 2
Okay.
times a year, sorry.
Okay.
Hey, Rich, I think your number, Frank and I are just on the calculator here a little bit. I think your number is a little off.
Should be 179.
Should be 179,961.
Okay, well,
179,961.50.
4 years flat, right?
No, we divided 359,923, divided it by 4.
Right.
Because that's 79.
No, it's not that, so TAM in year 2020 is 87,326. In 2021, it's 89,072. In 2022, it's 90,854. And in 2023, it's 92,671. There's a sheet in the back there that was a spreadsheet.
He has different numbers.
We got it. I got it, it's right here.
It's back here.
Oh, okay.
87,326.
Here.
89,72.
Thank you. That's why you're the controller.
Yeah.
I checked that first.
Thanks, Maria. Sorry. Did you question the same thing?
In my head, yeah.
Just so we weren't that far. You know, thinking.
Always escalates.
Thanks, Maria. All right. Any further questions or comments for Rich on this one?
Nope.
All right, 8, Rich, consider request to accept proposal for fish surveys, Lake Mayapack Park District.
So the Lake Mayapack Park District solicited requests, 3 quotes from vendors to perform fish surveys in Lake Mahopac. They got 2 in, one was unresponsive. Northeast Aquatic Research came in at the lowest at $16,000. At the Lake Mayapack Park District February 24th meeting, they recommended to move forward with the survey, and based on the pricing, we recommend the project be awarded with Northeast Aquatic Research. They do not have sufficient funds, and a transfer from the fund balance would be required per Marianne, or the town controller. I respect that they have asked for this. They want to develop a baseline study to help foster getting additional carp in the lake. So it's kind of trying to get an understanding of how to move forward, so.
No problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Hey,
Still doing the numbers on the prior one?
Rich, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. I'll go over something with you, Rich, after the, you here tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm in.
It's not a big deal, but I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, and when the results of the fish survey are completed, can make sure the board is distributed with a copy of that?
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Okay, next, number 9, Greg Fulchetti, Esquire, Town Legal Counsel. This is to consider request from New York State DOT for the acquisition of property for downtown Mahopac area.
You went out just in time. You don't have to listen. Just have to listen. This is a part of Department of Transportation's project ID number 8812-04221. There's a configuration and traffic control modifications going in at the Route 6N intersection with respect to the subsurface installation of utilities. The DOT, as is their right, has filed acquisition maps for easement interest over 4 parcels, I shouldn't say, 4 separate easements over 2 parcels for that project. And what happens is they file the acquisition maps, they come up with an offer that they deem to be a fair market value for the easement interest, and they basically allow you or permit you to accept the money, and if you sign the advance payment agreement, if you think that your valuation is higher, you can reserve that right later for damages. Just to let the board know, I sent something out here, I think on the 26th, regarding the configuration of these particular easement takings, and Rob Vera and I did sketch them onto the survey maps we have for the proposed downtown parking project, parcels that we acquired from the Mayapack Bank here last August. So we see how they lay out. They should not be any hindrance, but they have to be disclosed to your designers whenever you decide on that. And there's 4 parcels, 4 separate agreements here. The total compensation that you're getting up front is about $23,000. You reserve the right for more. Each has a permanent and temporary easement. Permanents are 8 feet wide. The temporaries are typically 4 to 5. I did get a notice from the clerk's office tonight. I think there's a supplemental one that got filed that the clerk just sent to me, and maybe the board as well. So I'll put that in. The approval resolution should be the same thing. I will also sketch it out on a map so you can see when you're talking to your professionals about the design and concept of that particular project. So I would do a resolution for that next week. All right? And the next,
Yeah, see if I, yeah.
and the
Good
next,
night, Greg.
do you want to do the next one, Kenny?
We'll talk to you.
Let me do 10?
Excuse me?
Do you want me to do 10?
Yes, please.
Wait, okay, this is the annual contract that the town enters into with Putnam County Department of Real Property Tax Services for the preparation of the tentative assessment roll. The county prepares the roll for us and charges it per parcel. I think it's 50 cents, I'm sorry, per parcel, and basically 1 additional cent per parcel with special districts. And this is something that we've been doing to keep the the overhead for the preparation of the roll itself and the printing with the county for as long as Supervisor Schmidt's been here. And it's about a $7,000 more or less contract that the county provides that service that the town board has always approved, to my recollection. But we do need a resolution to authorize it if the board's inclined, and I'll prepare that for next week if you are.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Greg.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, next item, number 11, Carmel Fire Department, consider request to waive permit fees, Carmel Fire Department building extension. So the Carmel Fire Department will be building an addition, extension, if you will, onto their current building, which is located up in the hamlet of Carmel on Route 52 and Vink Drive. The building used to be a former Grand Union years ago, and it's being used as their fire department. Their apparatus is kept in, I think, 4 or 5 bays that they have across the front of it. So they've outgrown that particular building to the point where they need additional bays to store their fire trucks in. The fire service has changed over the years. It's requiring additional equipment to provide fire protection to the residents of the Hamlet of Carmel, whereby their facility is no longer, it's capable of continuing to house apparatus, but they've outgrown it to the point where they need additional bays. So they have requested that the town board consider waiving fees that are associated with the construction of the building, one being lot line adjustment fee for $3,500, an amendment to the previous approved site plan, which is $3,000. Public hearings is $175, labels $100, engineering fees of 5% of the bond amount to be determined. There's the zoning board fees for an area variance application, which is $200, labels and notification sign $100, and public hearing $175. Architectural review, modification to existing commercial structure review is $200. Additional architectural fees for review only if further reviews are required. Mike Hengel is here. He's the chairman of the board of directors. Mike, thanks for being here for the Carmel Fire Department. Mike and I met, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago to discuss this, and I told Mike at the time that when they were ready to bring it back to the town board and to myself and the town board for consideration. So I personally have no problem. They're first responders. They provide an excellent service to the Hamlet of Carmel residents and businesses, and they'll continue to provide that service. Anything we can do as a town board to help them out with respect to costs associated with putting up a new building or an extension to the current building, I think we should do that. I think we owe it to the fire service. I think we owe it to the membership who volunteers their time. They're not paid. And they do have a budget that we approve every year, a contract that we have with them, if you will. And that contract's always been very reasonable as far as increases go. And it's going to continue to be reasonable with slight increases to cover other costs associated with providing that fire protection, but not huge increases, not large increases to the contract. So what they're asking for is, I personally believe is reasonable because they are first responders. And I will tell you, I have had conversations with Mahopac Fire Department. I've spoken to one of their commissioners, and I spoke to the chairman of the building committee at the time when the new Mahopac Fire Department was built back in 2005, 6, maybe 7 timeframe. There were a couple of fees that were waived, but not this, Mike. There were fees that were, I think it was the, what were the fees that were waived, Greg?
It was the cash bond.
It was a cash bond for a temporary CO, is what it was, and the temporary CO fee. So Susie and I both had a conference call with that individual today, and he brought up some good points and some valid suggestions or recommendations, you know, that he would believe that would be appropriate in this case. You know, I can tell you that he personally didn't object to the town board if they were to consider waiving the fees for you, because he did say, and I could say this, he did say that back in 2005-6 timeframe, that they did come to the town board. They approached the town board to waive the particular fees, maybe not the lot line adjustments because they didn't have one at the time, and that they were denied. So I don't have anything in writing from them or anyone else. I looked, I checked with the town clerk, I checked with my office. There was nothing in writing from them requesting that the fees be waived. I think it was a verbal only, and the feedback that they got at the time from the current board was that they weren't inclined to waive them. So that was then. That was then. That was the current board then. If that was their mindset and that was their decision not to waive them, that was their decision. We're in a different time where we're fast forward to where we are now. This is an entirely different board, and my opinion is that we should waive them. And I want to get feedback from the remainder of my board as well. So board, would you weigh in on this?
Very cheap way of saying thank you.
Yeah, and it's the same taxpayer, you know, we're all in here working together, and I have no problem with it as well. you know, and I want to thank you and everyone for your services as well.
I agree with Kenny also. I
Yeah.
think it's a great way to say thank you for all the
Yeah.
work that you guys do.
Yeah.
and-
For what you guys do, it is a great way to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
thank you.
I think we all concur.
And
We all feel that way.
And I think everybody on the board, or I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know, like, as long as I'm here, should, you know, any of the fire departments come, we would extend the same courtesy. Again, it's the same taxpayer, you guys, like the supervisor said, you do wonderful service and you keep us all safe, and we appreciate it.
And my understanding is something that you really need, the new apparatus that you'll be purchasing will be bigger, it'll be taller, and
need
just
higher doors.
higher doors, and
That's the biggest
easier to
thing.
pull in
There's
and
no
pull
way
out.
to extend or widen the current bay. It's at its limit.
Right.
And it was a grant unit, so there's no reinforcement in the walls or anything, so.
Okay.
It's just additional bays in the rear. We're getting, TD Bank next door is donating a portion of their parcel to assist with this, free of charge. So that was good, and we worked out an easement with the ambulance corps to access through their property, so. That's the reason we have to go to many different boards on this particular project.
All right, and I just want to state, so everyone understands, this is for the first responders. It's our local volunteer fire departments that the board has made the decision to do this. It's not for everybody. I want to make that clear. These are first responders in our community, and what better way to give back to them and help them out is to help them with these fees. And that's why I feel the way I do, and that's why the board feels the way they do.
who volunteer
right?
much of their time.
So it's not for everybody. It's just for the first responders. Thank you. Greg, do we have-
Thank you, Mike.
do we have to do this by resolution?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
It's just going to be a waiver of all fees under section 156 and 131 of the town code.
Thank you, Mike. Good luck with the building.
Thank you.
How's it moving, progressing along? Good.
The process is moving, I think they'll have it ready to submit to the planning board sometime tonight.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you.
And please let your department know as well. Okay, next 12, consider request to waive 30-day New York State ABC application on the premise for liquor license for Sonorita Corp., DBA Tijuana Mexican Bar and Grill, 376 Route 6, Mopac, New York. Dear
Basically
Town
another
Clerk,
name change
it's
on
a
Mojitos.
30-day notice of liquor labor notice. Greg, you reviewed the application?
I have, Ken.
You have? Yep. Everything is acceptable?
Be preparing a resolution for next week.
Okay. Board, we okay with this 30-day waiver?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, 13, Mike Simone, Highway Superintendent. Mary Ann, you want to join Mike at the table? Okay, Highway Superintendent, this is discussion regarding the Highway Department's capital projects for 2020. Mike, welcome.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Thank you. Take one and pass it.
In front of you is almost to a blueprint what I provided in my budget submission in September. I did have to, when I did do my analysis on my equipment, I did have to go up there a little bit more. I think you have a breakdown. But I would hope that you would support me again in $200,000 in drainage to be done throughout the town. And then I'd also, hopefully you support me with capital paving of $750,000 there, so. The equipment that I'm looking at would be a John Deere mower, and these are all budget figures. When I do get my hard figures, I'm trying to get the consensus from the board and also Mary Ann, that where the money's coming from and what we need to do. But these are numbers that I have compiled. They are budget numbers. I'm going to work them closer and get as best the contract I can get, which I think will be less, but I just wanted to come at you with the numbers here. A John Deere mower for $141,000. We have two of them out right now, and if the board remembers last year, both of them went down last year, and we had no mowers out, and we were getting calls constantly. I mean, because it was started out as a very wet spring and early summer, and then a very hot summer, and the amount of growth on the roadside was tremendous. And unfortunately, the mowers went down right when we went out to use them in July and August. We literally had my summer kids and some of my men out doing weed whacking just to keep up with some of this stuff. So At this point, we have fixed one of them. The other one, I'm going to trade in. I'd like to get a new one so that we have two strong, up-and-running tractors for this year. A John Deere backhoe. We have two at this time. One is in need of extensive repairs. I believe they are 2003 and a 2007, and the 2003 needs extensive repairs. I, again, would like to probably trade this in and get another backhoe. And town does need backhoes. We do most of our road work on roads, and we need a rubber tire machine. So, and having, what I do is I put them in my outpost, what I call my outpost. Our central garage is here, but I do use 6N for an outpost. I put a backhoe down there, so it'll service that end of town, which is all the way down to the fish area, and then I put another one up in Carmel to be able to handle the Carmel. I mean, we're 14 miles apart. Rather than having these all set here, I have them out at some of the outposts, so.
Spread them out.
Yep.
Mike, which one, I'm sorry, the 2003, you would
Trade
consider
in.
trading in?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
there's still some value?
Right, there is still some value. There's value to, everything I think I got here, I mean, we're finding out there is value. So, and I would come back with the value and the price, so I'd let you know when I do this. But, again, I just want to be able to have the bonding go out so that we know we have the money in place for me to go ahead and pull the trigger as fast as I can.
Oh, so you asked for the bonding for the whole thing, but if the two trade-ins come in, for the 141 and the trade-in.
I'm asking
no
for a number,
idea.
and then if I can, and again, I always go shoot high.
Yep,
And-
and then we can always lower it if the
Yeah,
trade-in
this
comes
is
in at like
basically to cover-
100,000.
Yeah, to get the authorization, and I'll go over what, where I suggest paying for, the machinery.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not authorizing the actual machinery, this is
Right.
authorizing
Ju-
just,
just the
discussing the
borrowing.
bonding.
Right.
The bonding, I'm
Yep,
sorry.
Right.
Yep, yep.
Right.
Mike,
Yep.
can I ask you, when you consider trading both of these in,
Yep,
and would you contact the dealer? Is that
Yes.
how you would do it?
yep,
All
as
right.
one.
Well,
And then, as we know, Kenny, we do use international
I know.
auctions, and we're moving some stuff up there now. So,
Did you see what some of the equipment's up to?
Yes.
That you posted?
yes.
Pretty good, right?
Not bad for
So-
stuff that we were getting junk. But unfortunately, I mean, we were offsetting it at a time when scrap metal was worth something.
Right.
And we had someone local who took it and gave us almost that same amount of money. But
Yeah.
now the metal is worth nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, you
I know.
can't, nobody wants your old stuff.
So-
But somebody does, seems like so.
So I think you and I are on the same page. We're aligned that when you get the number from John Deere,
Yeah.
we may be better off putting it on that site, right? And make command-
We
make command-
might go dual, because
Yeah.
I can always refuse.
Right. Okay.
So,
I like that.
I don't have a problem with that.
You know I like that site.
Yes, yep,
I'm on it a
yep,
lot. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
And the last is the John Deere loader, and this would be replacing my 1997 loader, which really is now at 22 years old. It's probably, we've gotten everything we got out of it. And at this time, especially, I mean, again, we did not have a winter this year, but I do need 3 loaders, because I have 3 outposts and salt sheds that load trucks in the winter. And I have to have 3 good working loaders, because if we don't have loaders, we're not putting out the material in the wintertime, and that's crucial, so.
Where's this one kept, Mike?
This one was kept at the Falls Garage.
The 97?
Yep,
And
yep.
what's the make of that, the manufacturer?
John Deere.
It's John Deere?
Yeah, I try to stay somewhat standardized.
Yeah.
So that we can get pretty much all the same parts. A lot of the filters are the same, they're interchangeable, so I don't have to have multiple parts up in my parts area, so.
Mike, based upon the cost of petroleum now, with the capital pavement of $750, what's that distance going to cover?
I don't, we are out to bid right now.
Okay.
Our bid comes in next Thursday, the 19th. We will be opening them. I'm hoping that it comes down. Right now, as of last year, it's about $155,000 a mile to put a 2-inch layer cap on the road.
Yeah.
That's how you come up with some numbers right now.
Yeah, right.
Again, we have seen what's oil doing. It's plummeting right now. Sometimes it always doesn't reflect into asphalt, but
Right.
I'm hoping it does, so.
Marion, do we have debt coming off in this current year?
We do, yeah. Well, I mean, we do and we don't, because we have more coming on with the airport and,
Well,
and the Swan Cove. But I'll go over the spreadsheet that I prepared. Just wanted to touch on the first line is the landfill.
right.
And that will be paid off in 2026, so we're getting closer to that. The Carmel Salt Shed will be paid off this year, in 2020, so that will fall off. We have the airport ban. Currently, we have an outstanding ban for the airport of $1,975,000. Swan Cove, we bought that, first purchase of land was $1 million. We paid $100 in cash, but $900 we had to borrow for. So we will pay that off in 2023. So the first green line on this spreadsheet, you see in 2021, we have retiring debt. It's negative $74,000. But then if you add these projects that we're talking about tonight, it's an increase in the retiring debt of $45,000, the second green line on the bottom. Okay, so in 2020, our annual debt with this proposed debt is 119. In 2021, the annual proposed debt would be 45,000. So it is lower, the proposed debt 21 to, 20 to 21, it's 45,000 lower, well, an increase of 45,000. But then if you go to 2023, it's an increase of 455, the annual retiring debt, the second green line in 2023. So in 2024, when that Swan Cove payment falls off, then we'll see a decrease in the retiring debt. But we'll have additional projects that come forward each year.
Right.
So
No,
what I try to do is project out an estimate each year for the highway, because, Mike always comes every year for his capital project, so I have to project out, if I'm doing an accurate projection out to 2026, I need to estimate those costs.
Oh, so you estimated the
So-
25 and 26, that's why I'm saying.
Exactly,
where
yeah,
did
so I'm
it come-
estimating
yeah.
that he's gonna come to the board again next year. And I kind of keep the same
And
amounts.
then it would come in
So
25, 26.
Right,
Okay.
so I don't want to give a false
Yeah.
estimate, because.
These are projected,
You
yeah.
know, we continually have to borrow for the capital projects. If there is surplus in the general fund and the highway fund, I do pay down the bands. I have done that in the past couple years, so that we're not bonding out all of this money. So this, again, like I talked about earlier with the Lake Hassie, I'll give you estimates at the high. So these are estimates at, the high, but of course, if the projects come in lower, we'll bond out lower. Or if I'm able to pay them down with the, 100,000 or 200,000, I will do that.
Mike,
Right.
the numbers that you gave us, that's in addition, there's an additional 204 CHIPS money from last year that you're gonna be using, correct?
Yes. And just that was rollover again. Last year we had a very wet spring,
Right.
all the way into July. A lot of my vendors couldn't get in place. We also, which I was unaware, I was aware of it, but it didn't find out the full scope. I had planned on doing some roads up in Carmel. But once I found out, and now I have a map of areas that are going to be looked at, even if you line a pipe in a road, there's going to have to be areas and coupons cut. So I'm going to stay away from the roads that any of the water system is going to be worked on in Carmel. And I want the people to know that out there. That's the reason why I'm staying away.
Yeah, no point in doing
I'm not going to, cut a road that I'm putting in.
Yeah.
But to give you, and I like Mary Ann's projection, but I'm going to give you the same speech. Last week, I was up in Albany talking to senators and assemblymen, and I will tell you, since 2013, our CHIPS has been flat.
Yeah.
So I have asked for a lot of money up there. We asked for an extra $150 million